Back with the Mighty Manfred, and it is time to start chatting with Suzi Chunk for today's coolest conversation. How are you, Suzi?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Man, love your voice, love your singing. Got this new single, Barefoot in the Car Park with Groovy Uncle. So look, now Sandy Shaw is a barefoot pop princess. What does that make you?
I'm sure I don't know.
No, you don't think it's not kind of any royalty over there? Because you know you folks have got royalty over there in England. We have no royalty here.
I'm quite far from royalty, I would say.
Well, me as well, although we live vicariously. We live vicariously through your work.
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
So now you're from Northeast England. What is the town?
Stockton-on-Tees.
Stockton-on-Tees. And then, but you didn't start singing in bands there, did you?
No, I came to Wales, to Cardiff in Wales when I was a lot younger, and I started singing then. I always wanted to, but I don't think I had the bottle to do it back home.
So what kind of stuff were you just whatever the local bands were? Was there any particular type of music or?
I think it was just kind of general rocky stuff to start with. I've done all sorts of stuff really. I was once in a Led Zeppelin covers band. That was great fun, but it wasn't too hot on the old voice, so I had to knock it on the head.
Oh, I see. So with Groovy Uncle, it's this guy Glenn Pragnell.
Yeah.
And so he's Mr. Groovy Uncle. I know he used to have this band. I don't know much about him except that they existed, the Craven A's. Very cool sort of Medway stuff. How did you hook up with this guy?
Well, weirdly enough, we met on MySpace years ago when MySpace wasn't the wasteland that it is today. And I liked his songs and he really liked my voice, and we chatted and we knew each other for a good few years like that, and then eventually he asked me to do some stuff and I was delighted.
Oh, cool. So he's part of that Medway scene, right?
Yeah.
Right, and were you familiar with that scene much at all over there in Wales?
Not really. There was a band back home in Stockton that did that sort of thing. I knew about them, but I didn't really know much about Medway, to be honest.
The band back there in Stockton, what do you recall what their name is?
Yeah, Jarvis Humby. I think you played them on
Yes, that's right.
They're good friends of mine.
Yeah, I've known some of those guys. Yeah, well, that's very cool. I know that they had released the first album, then the second album. I think Graham Day was producing, but I believe that came not.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, they're lovely boys.
And so Glenn, you guys had this friendship, and he sort of eventually he said, "Why don't you come sing? Come join us on some tracks."
Initially, it started off as just doing about 3 songs, but then once we got them down, everyone seemed pretty excited about it, and so we decided that an album would have to happen. So then we did Girl from the Neck Down in 2012.
Oh man, that is great. So these other folks in the band and Groovy Uncle, they've all got quite the rock and roll resumes, right? There's Bruce Brand. I guess known mainly as a drummer for the Head Coats, to us anyway, but I know he's also a guitar player and Mole.
He does all sorts of things with all sorts of people. He's a very clever boy.
And Mole, right?
Yeah.
Higher State, and also with the Embrooks.
Well, he's the guy. Him and Marty, we recorded a lot of the stuff with State Records in Sandgate Studios before they got flooded. So that's the connection there.
How did it get flooded?
I think we had a lot of bad weather last year, and because it was a basement studio. So I think it just ended up taking a bit of a battering.
So now you also play in more funk-sounding.
I do. I got two funk bands in Cardiff. One called Monk Jack, who I've been with for about 5 or 6 years, and a big 13-piece band that I've just started up with called Canute.
Wow, that's a lot of folks on the stage.
It is. Well, that's why it's difficult getting gigs for all that many people as well, but it's good fun trying.
How often do you play with the Groovy Uncle? How is it an ongoing? Is there ever a live aspect to it, or?
We have done some gigs, but to be honest, because I live so far away from Glen and a couple of the other boys live in different places, it's very difficult to get together. There's not a lot of people in this country who offer us enough money just to cover expenses, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing. So last year we did a little 3-day mini tour of France, which was brilliant. And the year before we did a gig in the north of Spain. That was really good. But over here, there's not a lot of opportunity, to be honest.
Well, I know England is a pretty hard country to tour in. I know when you're on the continent, I think the hospitality is much better.
Yeah, they seem to appreciate the whole live music thing a lot better over there than they do here. It's really difficult. It's like pulling teeth.
Now, the album Girl from the Neck Down, I mentioned that came out in 2012.
That's right.
I got to say, one of my favorites of the year.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Look back and laugh. What a great song. We mentioned Glenn's previous band, the Craven A's, doing that, and your version is just killer. Your voice is just so lovely.
Thank you.
Then last year was One Vowel Away from the Truth.
That's right.
And then right now, the new single, Barefoot in the Car Park. So when did you work on the single? When was that recorded?
I think it was about April or May we put that down. We put that down in Ranscombe Studios in Rochester.
Excellent. And so there's supposed to be, now that's, so there'll be another album forthcoming before the end of the year, maybe?
An album called Persuaded in the next couple of months. We haven't got a release date yet, but that will also be on vinyl and on CD and on download. So just keep looking at our websites.
And tell me, what is the label that Persuaded would be out on?
Persuaded, that's actually, Glenn's doing that himself. That's going to be just a Groovy Uncle homemade production thing. The single's out on State Records, but the album's just going to be a home job.
Oh, terrific.
Which is difficult, but, you know, we just got to get it out there, really.
Oh, you do, and that way you keep all the money.
Yeah.
Well, Suzi, thank you so much for speaking with us and having the coolest conversation of the day.
Thank you very much for having me.
And right now, it's time to look back and laugh.